attention, please. The visiting lecture session will commence shortly. Please kindly take a nice seat, put your camera on, and put your microphone in muted mode. Before we start, let's watch the informational video of Universitas Terbuka.
Dengan dilandasi keyakinan, UT mampu beradaptasi dengan setiap perubahan dan sumber daya manusia yang excellent, serta memiliki jiwa dan karakter Pancasila yang kuat. Universitas Terbuka siap menyongsong era baru pendidikan tinggi jarak jauh di tanah air yang modern menuju Indonesia maju.
Dahulu, ketika UT didirikan pada tahun 1984, tidak sedikit orang yang memandang sebelah mata Universitas Terbuka. Hari ini kita percaya bahwa UT telah menjadi perguruan tinggi negeri yang besar, berdiri sejajar dengan perguruan tinggi lain yang lebih dahulu didirikan. Bahkan terdepan dalam pendidikan terbuka dan jarak jauh. UT menjadi instrumen penting pemerintah dalam pemerataan pendidikan tinggi berkualitas dunia ke seluruh pelosok tanah air, bahkan mancanegara. Sulit rasanya meningkatkan angka partisipasi kasar pendidikan tinggi tanpa kehadiran UT.
Seiring dengan berubahnya status menjadi perguruan tinggi badan hukum atau PTNBH, yang membuatnya sejajar dengan perguruan tinggi terkemuka di Indonesia yang lebih dahulu didirikan, UT semakin lincah dalam merespon beragam tuntutan internal dan eksternal, dengan melakukan terobosan baru yang inovatif dan adaptif. Dengan semangat, tatanan dan budaya kerja baru mewujudkan Indonesia maju. Perkembangan teknologi yang ramah pengguna, terjangkau, tersebar, serta semakin meningkatnya literasi digital masyarakat. UT semakin mendapat tempat di hati berbagai kalangan. Hal itu tampak pada terus meningkatnya jumlah mahasiswa, dan dalam 5 tahun terakhir, jumlah mahasiswa usia muda terus meningkat. Menyadari karakteristik dan kompleksitas pendidikan jarak jauh dan masyarakat yang berubah dengan cepat, UT melakukan investasi yang signifikan untuk penyediaan infrastruktur modern dan SDM yang berkualitas. Gedung Profesor Setiadi menjadi landmark keseriusan UT dalam menjadikan teknologi modern sebagai tulang punggung layanan kepada mahasiswa dan stakeholders lainnya. Gedung yang dilengkapi peralatan terkini siap memberikan layanan online terbaik.
Pada tahun ini, UT meluncurkan aplikasi MyUT yang memudahkan mahasiswa mengakses semua layanan pendidikan dengan menerapkan teknologi Sistem Single Sign-On atau SSO.
Dalam mewujudkan akuntabilitas keuangan, UT mengimplementasikan transformasi digital tata kelola keuangan atau yang disebut dengan SIP3, Sistem Informasi Perencanaan, Pelaksanaan, dan Pertanggungjawaban Keuangan.
Dengan demikian, setiap kegiatan dapat memaksimalkan value, meningkatkan kinerja dan kontribusi, serta menjaga keberlanjutan UT dengan prinsip transparansi, accountability, independensi, responsibility, dan fairness. UT mengembangkan aplikasi sendiri yang diberi nama Smart Procurement Management Information System, yang disingkat PROMIS.
Aplikasi ini sudah mendapatkan penghargaan dan apresiasi dari sejumlah lembaga pemerintah, termasuk perguruan tinggi negeri yang sudah menggunakannya.
Sebagai jantung sebuah perguruan tinggi, fakultas memiliki peran penting dalam memberikan layanan akademik dan terus berpacu meningkatkan kualitas akademik dan inovasi pembelajaran. Akreditasi baik nasional maupun internasional, termasuk upaya mendapatkan international recognition, terus dibangun. Di antaranya penyiapan bilingual course materials untuk menampung international students.
Kami menyadari bahwa keberhasilan UT adalah berkat kepercayaan pemerintah dan masyarakat. Mari membangun manusia dan Indonesia yang lebih baik bersama Universitas Terbuka.
First of all, allow me to extend our warmest greetings to the honorable speakers, Professor Madya Dr. Juwaidah Binti Sharifuddin, and also Dosh Engineer Jiri Patoka Ph.D. DIS. Also, we would like to welcome our honorable guest today, the Dean of Faculty of Science and Technology of Universitas Terbuka, Dr. Subekti Nurmawati MSI, Vice Dean for Academic Affairs of Faculty of Science and Technology of Universitas Terbuka, Dr. Ernik Yuliana SPIMT, and also the Vice Dean for Finance, Resources, and General Affairs of Faculty of Science and Technology Universitas Terbuka, Dr. Randa Inggit Winarni MSI, Head of Study Programs on Faculty of Science and Technology of Universitas Terbuka, and also Mr. Fauzi Rahmadian Zuhairi, SSE, MSc, and Mrs. Fenty Fitriani Nurunisa, SA, MSE, MSc as our moderator today and all of the participants of today's event. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Welcome to the visiting lecture on this date, Thursday, 14th December of 2023. Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to all of participants who are joining us physically here and also virtually using this Zoom media, and also those participants who are joining us using YouTube. This visiting lecture session is proudly presented to you by the Faculty of Science and Technology of Universitas Terbuka. First, I would like to introduce my own self. My name is Safira, and it is a pleasure for me to be your host on this beautiful occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, before we officially start the visiting lecture, please allow us to first broadly go through the agenda as follows. First, we will sing Indonesia's national anthem, and also we will listen to the welcoming speech that will be spoken by the Dean of Faculty of Science and Technology. And also we will have the visiting lecture sessions, first with Professor Madya Dr. Juwaidah Binti Sharifuddin, and the second visiting lecture sessions we will have from Dosh Engineer Jiri Patoka PhD DIS, followed by question and answer session. And also We will have a delivering certification of appreciation to the speakers, and last but not least, we will have a photo session and the closing. In addition, to all of the participants of today's event will get a certificate by filling the attendance form by clicking the link that will be shared by the committee at the end of today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, to begin our beautiful event today, let us listen to the national anthem of Indonesia. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as we gather here today, let's pray together according to our respective religions and beliefs. Please start praying. Amin ya Rabbal Alamin. May God give His blessings and grant our wishes. Ladies and gentlemen, let us hear a welcoming speech from Dean of Faculty of Science and Technology of Universitas Terbuka. Please welcome Dr. Subekti Nurmawati, MSI.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Safira. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Best wishes to all of us. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, on this very fine day and in good health, we can gather in this forum, and it is our privilege that we can join in today's visiting lecturer via Zoom meeting. Our Honorable Dr. Engineer Jiri Patoka, Ph.D., DIS from Department of Zoology and Fisheries, Faculty of Agrobiology, Food and Natural Resources, Czech University of Life Sciences, Prague. Our Honorable Professor Madya, Dr. Juwaidah Binti Sharifuddin, from Faculty of Agriculture, Universiti Putra, Malaysia. Our Honorable Vice Dean for Academic Affairs, Ibu Dr. Ernik Juliana, Vice Dean for Finance Resources and General Affairs, Ibu Inggit Winarni, and Vice Dean for Students, Learning Service and Collaboration Affairs, Ibu Dr. Dewi Julia Ratnaningsih, and all of the head study programs in the Faculty of Science and Technology Universitas Terbuka, our moderators, Mr. Fauzi Rahmadian Zuhairi, Lecturer of Biology Study Program, and Mrs. Fenty Fitriani Nurrisa, Lecturer of Agribusiness Study Programs. All lecturers and students, especially for the 5th to the 6th semester of the Faculty of Science and Technology Universitas Terbuka, and all participants who present in this forum. First, praise is to Allah SWT for this mercy and grace. Today we are all able to attend the visiting lecturer, our two extraordinary speakers, Mr. Jiri Patoka, PhD, with the topic Biological Invasion in Marine Environment, and Mrs. Professor Madya, Dr. Juwaidah Binti Sharifuddin, with the topic Sustainable Agribusiness Marketing, Balancing Profitability and Environmental Impact. Mr. Jiri Patoka, hello, who was previously visited as a guest speaker at Universitas Terbuka and Pondok Cabe. This event is organized by collaboration between two program study, the Agribusiness Study Program and Biology Study Programs of the Faculty of Science and Technology Universitas Terbuka. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully after attending this visiting lecture, it can inspire us to continue working to develop research that can be useful for the sustainability of our marine biodiversity and also agribusiness. We express our gratitude to Mr. Jiri Patoka and Mrs. Juwaidah for their time and sharing. And I would like to thank the Agribusiness Study Program for continuing this good activity with Czech University. And we will follow up the collaboration with Universiti Putra Malaysia. Finally, we would like to thank all parties that we have not mentioned one by one who have helped organize today's visiting lecturer. That's all from me. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Nurma, for giving us such a very warm welcoming speech for today's event. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we will now continue to the main agenda for today's event, the first session of visiting lecture with the theme of Sustainable Agribusiness Marketing, Balancing Profitability and Environmental Impact, that will be delivered by our honorable speaker, Professor Madya Dr. Juwaidah Binti Sharifuddin. She is an Associate Professor at the Faculty of Agriculture, Universiti Putra, Malaysia. And also, I would like to inform and give attention to all the participants for these following matters. First, please open your camera and turn off your microphone during this presentation. And if you have any question, please write it down to the Q&A section with format your name, underscore your institution or UT daerah. And then you can write down your questions. Or if you want to ask directly, you can use the raise hand feature. And it is expected that all participants to fill the attendance form with the link that will be shared on the chat box at the end of this event. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this session will be moderated by Fenty Fitriani Nurunisa, SA, MSc, MSc. Now, I would like to invite Mrs. Fenty and also Professor Madya Dr. Juwaidah Binti Sharifuddin to guide us through an insightful lecture. Mrs. Fenty, if you may guide this visiting lecture, and this session is yours now.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Safira, for very kind words. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, honorable speakers, honorable Dean and Vice Dean of Faculty of Science and Technology, and of course, all participants of this visiting lecture held by Faculty of Science and Technology, Universitas Terbuka. I am Fenty Fitriani Nurunisa. I will be your moderator in this first session today. As mentioned by Ms. Safira before, that this session we will discuss about a very interesting and important topics related to sustainable agribusiness marketing, balancing profitability and environmental impact. This topic will be delivered by our speaker, Professor Madya Dr. Juwaidah Binti Sharifuddin from Universiti Putra, Malaysia. Good afternoon, Prof. Juwaidah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you, Prof?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for us to have you here in Faculty of Science and Technology. We can wait to hear of your presentations. And however, before we jump into your lecture, Please allow me to introduce you to the audience here. Okay, so Professor Dr. Juwaidah Sharifuddin is an associate professor at Department of Agribusiness and Bioresource Economics, Faculty of Agriculture, Universiti Putra, Malaysia. Professor Juwaidah is Deputy Dean of Academic Student Affairs and Alumni, and her research specialization is in agribusiness marketing and consumer behavior. Wow, this is a very interesting topic, of course. She obtained her Ph.D. in marketing from Cardiff University, United Kingdom, along with her postgraduate diploma of social science research method, her master degree from Universiti Putra, Malaysia, and her bachelor degree is pursued from business administration from Drexel University, United States. In her academic career, she's been involved in teaching since 2011 and has been serving as Deputy Dean of Academic Students Affairs and Alumni from November 2020 until now. Her expertise, of course, in agribusiness and marketing and consumer behavior is undoubtful and has been reflected on her presentation, her publications. So, without any further ado, Professor Juwaidah, the floor is yours, and you may have 20 minutes to deliver your presentations.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Binti, our moderator for today. Let me share screen. Okay. Okay. Before I start, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you to Faculty of Science and Technology for inviting me. Thank you to Dr. Subekti Nurmawati, and also all the participants today. All right, so I was given this topic, Sustainable Agribusiness Marketing, Balancing Profitability and Environmental Impact. Okay, this is a very vast topic. Okay, I will try to cover this in the time given. So I'm actually in the Department of Agribusiness and Bioresource Economics from Faculty of Agriculture, Universiti Putra, Malaysia. Okay, so what we can see first on sustainable agribusiness marketing, what is that? Okay, so it involves promoting agriculture products and practices that refer to the, it has to be balanced between the profitability with the minimal environmental impact. Okay, so we want to balance what the consumer demands are, and also when we produce, it needs to be environmentally friendly products and contribute to the overall health of ecosystems. So I believe the students in this faculty is also the ones who are taking the science subjects. So not only looking at business, because I'm from the business perspective, but I'm going to give you some examples that you can apply in your area, okay? So after you have graduated, so I will give some examples that might be you can apply when you work or when you open your own business in the future, okay? So other than saying that it's a sustainable marketing, we can say it's also a green marketing or eco marketing. Okay, so it emphasizes on environmental and social responsibility. Now, why are we looking at all this, everything sustainability? Okay, so there have been research that have been done. This one is in 2021, okay, by Global Consumer Insights Pulse Survey. So if you look at this, sorry, okay, if you look at this, okay, the ones that is they have compared between the Generation X, baby boomers, millennial. Millennial is also called as Gen Y. Okay, we have also Gen Z and also Gen Alpha. So, but the ones that are in the very dark green, okay, are the ones who are considered as millennials. The core millennials, age of 27 to 32, age 33 to 36, mature millennials. They are looking at more eco-friendly products and services. Okay, these are the person who are contributing more to the economy right now. So if you look at Generation X, I'm from Gen X, okay? So Gen X, baby boomers, yes, they are also looking at sustainability, but not that many. So the ones that are more towards it are the millennials. So I think you guys are in the age of young millennials and also Generation Z, I think. Okay, so Generation Z is only less than 50% if you look at this, because they are not they don't have that much income yet to spend, so they don't do that much decision making. Okay, but the ones who are from 23 until 36, these are the ones that can already make their own decisions and they have their income to spend. Okay, and the questions that have been asked is on product that are traceable, conscious and supportive of protecting environment, eco-friendly packaging, okay, biodegradable. They check the labels, so they are doing this right now. Okay, so might be this is in the US, okay, but it might already have been for the consumers in Malaysia and Indonesia too. Okay, it's increasing right now. And this is also from US, okay, US consumers. What they show, and I believe it's also going to be the same situation in Malaysia and Indonesia, is that comparing 2 to 3 years ago to today, okay, they can see that the percentage of respondents that look towards sustainability and say that it is important, the percentage has increased for overall Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, and boomers. So if you look at the darker green, it's already said that sustainability is an integral part of my identity. It defines who I am and my purpose in life. So it also increased, even though it's small increase, but it's an increase. Okay, so if you are working in a company or you have your own company in the future, so you have to look into this also. Okay, and then priorities. Okay, priorities is still major on waste and recycling. Okay, and we have seen many things getting being wasted. Okay, even food. When we talk about food security, yes, we are saying that we are not having enough food to eat, and it also increased the price. But I also believe that sometimes, not sometimes, many times we buy and then we discard too much. For example, we cook too much and then we cannot finish it, and we put in the refrigerator, and then after 1 or 2 weeks, then we throw it away. Okay, we buy fruits, for example. We don't buy fruits only for our consumption. It's sometimes when it's in season, it's very cheap, so we buy more. But when we buy more and we don't consume and we didn't give to anybody, after a while it's going to be a waste. Okay, so waste and recycling is the major part of sustainability priorities. And then we look into home energy usage, using solar power, replacing the bulbs, light bulbs and all that. Okay, food and diet, technology, and until international travel. Okay, Now, these are the priorities for the consumers. And then attitudes. How do you rate the importance of these factors when making purchase? So they look at brand of the product lesser than the sustainability. So you can see that it's changing now. Before this, we always say that consumer will look at the brand. Whatever that they buy, they will look at the brand. But the changing of consumer preferences is not only looking at the brand, but they are going to look also whether the company is doing something that is sustainable or not. And also sustainability is not only about the whatever the company do, it's about the product or service, whether it is using environmental friendly packaging. You still remember they show the turtles with plastic straw in the nose, okay? So that actually make consumer aware of what they are buying because they don't want to have much impact to the environment, okay? And looking at the data, 2021, this is why they look at compared 2021 to 2019, more buying from sustainable brand, okay, in the market. So this is also from US, but it's coming towards our region, okay. So we look at sustainable development goals, SDGs. All of us are very familiar with these 17 SDG, right? Okay, now everything we have to show which SDG that we are looking at when we do our research, when we produce something, when we talk about anything, everything we have to put towards this SDG. So implementation in Malaysia at our government government level, okay, we also have SDG roadmap for Malaysia. This one is phase 1, 2016 to 2020, and we are doing beyond this. And also we have SDG indicator. That means not only that we plan what we are going to do, but we also need to measure how much that we have done and how much that we have achieved. Okay, but I think Malaysia is good in planning. Okay, in planning we have many things in plan, but then on the work side, to do it, we have to have people. Okay, we have to have the citizen, even the companies, all NGOs, all working together to achieve all this. Okay, because what we know is that SDG is very important for our future. Okay. Even our Bursa Malaysia, okay, they also have company sustainability framework. Okay, so when we show the company sustainability framework, it looks at the stakeholder engagement, reporting and assurance, structure, process, people, infrastructure, how to measure sustainability, the initiative, and also value creation strategy. Okay, so what the government is trying to show is that they are trying to guide even companies, small companies, big companies, so that they will look at sustainability and social responsible and be a socially responsible and ethical companies. Okay, so it does not matter that you have only a small company. Look at the big picture. How can you contribute, or how can you minimize impact to the environment? Okay. After this, I will show you what are the things that can be considered. Just even as a small company, even as individuals who produce something, some products, you can take proactive action, okay, in ensuring sustainability, okay. So these are the, well, I reason that these are the key elements for sustainable agribusiness marketing, okay. I've listed here 10. It might be more, okay. So the first one is the, hold on. The first one is the environmental responsibility. Second one is social responsibility, transparency and authenticity, certifications and standard, consumer education, circular economy practices, innovation for sustainability, supply chain sustainability, regulatory compliance, and the last one is measuring and reporting. Okay, so we look at this one by one. Okay, the first one, environmental responsibility. Okay, so if a company, if you are doing sustainable agribusiness marketing, that means you try towards providing, offering green products and services. Okay, you try to minimize what are the might be green products. For example, you are using things that are produced sustainably. Okay, or you try to, if you have, for example, a fish farm. Okay, the way you produce the fishes, okay, is doing things that are minimum risk to the environment. Okay, if you have water being discharged into the river, for example, so you might have to do something to the water before you release to the river. Okay, you might use energy efficient process, okay, to reduce carbon footprint. You might emphasize buying local and seasonal products, okay, in producing your product. You can use eco-friendly packaging. You try to make sure that if you use plastic before this, you change to something else, because plastic have to it cannot be recycled, right? So whatever that you think about, your company is producing something, might be you try to minimize the risk to the environment. Okay, so that is one of the factors, elements in sustainable agribusiness marketing. Okay, second one, social responsibility. So if, for example, social responsibility means your company, you have fair labor practices. Okay, for example, you can see you give opportunity for women to work, for those who are, kita panggil OKU, orang kurang upaya. Okay, or people from what you call that, different races, okay, work in your company. So that is also considered as social responsibility of your company, right? And then you have community engagement, and you can collaborate with NGO and other environmental group who have the same passion in protecting the environment. I know that for social responsibility, it will increase your cost, the company cost. Okay, but we also can, I think all religion, especially in Islam, is that we have to take care of each other, and also we have to take care of the environment. So even if it will incur a small cost, I believe that you will get pahala for that. Okay, so that can also be considered as well, some sort of income to you as an individual. Okay, so social responsibility, because most of the questions that have been asked by students or people, orang umum, they always ask, it always more expensive to take care of the environment, okay, as compared to you produce products in the traditional ways. Yes, I know about that. When you do paddy farming, for example, it's easier to burn rather than think about something that can recycle all the production waste. But that is something that we cannot think only on short term. So the long term, it's going to be costing more expensive if we don't take small measurement now. Okay, small measures now. The third one, transparency and authenticity. Okay, so transparency is actually you have to give clear communication and provide information. So for example, if you are using reduced pesticide usage, you do water conservation, you do soil health management, tell that to the consumer. Okay, but you don't oversell yourself, something that you don't do, but you say that your company is doing. Because remember, transparency and authenticity, it's very crucial right now because we have social media. Before this, we don't have social media. Everything that we know is only coming from newspaper, TV, radio. Okay, now less people is watching TV. I'm sure at your age, you don't watch TV anymore. You watch your Netflix. you use your small phone to watch movie. Okay, but using your phone, you have IG, you have TikTok, you have Twitter, you have Facebook. Okay, Facebook is for my generation. Okay, not your generation. So with all the social media, actually, if you oversell whatever you are doing, it's something that is misleading. If somebody gets to know it, they can blast to everyone. So be careful of that. It's actually, well, in Islam you cannot lie, kan? Allah knows, okay? But we as human usually we forgot about that. But when people can see and people can tell other people, it will create an issue and it will affect your company in the long term. Okay, so provide information. Where do you buy your product? Where does it source from? The origin of the product, the farming methods, and all that. Okay, but don't exaggerate, don't mislead the information that you are giving to the consumers. Okay, and then number 4, certifications and standard. Okay, so if you are going for it, go for organic, go for fair trade. If you have something like MyGap in Malaysia, if you have that certifications, then use it. Use it at your own advantage, okay? But then, like I said just now, authenticity. Organic, for example, is very hard for consumer to differentiate between the organic vegetable as compared to non-organic vegetables. It's very hard for them to know whether you are using pesticide or not, okay? So it is up to you to be trustful, okay, to gain trust from your consumer, because once the trust is not there, they are not going to buy your brand anymore. Okay, and it's very hard for you to regain that trust. Okay, so I know it's hard to get certification. Sometimes it's a very big hassle. Sometimes it's expensive also. For example, to get halal certification, for example, it's a long process. But then, if you have the certification, declare it and make sure that you comply with the standards. Okay, so this is not only for ASEAN countries. I've been to Japan. Japanese farmers also, they have problems of getting certifications. Why? Because farmers, for example, it's hard. They can work at the field because they are farmer. They like to work at the field. They don't have problem with that. Once you ask them to fill up forms, have proper filing. Everything has to be in order. That's where they have problems. So if you have that kind of problem, if you when you have your own company or when you work in the company after this, might be you have to have allocated person lah, a designated person to do on the certification processes because it's very lengthy, okay, to get certification, okay. And then consumer education. So you have to raise awareness for the consumers. For example, before this, I said about wastage, right? How can I say this? Now I see the trend for restaurants in Malaysia right now. They like to sell food in a big plate. It's like US punya size portion to eat. Okay. Now, when it is so much, that's when Malaysia becomes the most obese people in Southeast Asia. Okay. So you cannot I know you as a company you want to sell, okay, but with your selling too you need to also consider the society, okay. We have so many sweet things, sweet drinks, desserts, okay. Why not make it at the proportion that people can buy and eat, because they don't have to overeat, okay. They can taste but they don't have to overeat. So raise the awareness on for the consumer to reduce sugar, for example. We have apa ya sekarang bubble tea. We have with the cream, whatever lah. Memang everything is sweet right now. So these are things that you as a company, yes, you want to sell to the consumer, but at the same time teach them that how to buy in moderation, because even in the stalls, okay, they try to increase their sales by having selling things in bulk. For example, if you take one, it's 50 cent. If you take three, is 1 ringgit. So that means instead of 2 1 ringgit, they get 3 1 ringgit. But then they are going to buy more. Not necessary that they are going to eat everything. Okay. So this kind of selling, sometimes it's good for one. Actually, people can see that it's good for them too, for the consumer too, but it's overeating. Okay. And then promote responsible consumption. That is, for example, the ones that I say, you want them to buy more from you, bulk buying, but you don't want them to waste more. Okay. Consumer education also on asking them to buy something that you produce locally instead of imported stuff. That is also something that can reduce carbon footprint because you don't have to import. Okay. Now, actually, young people likes to eat fruits that are easy to eat. Easy to eat, it's like apple, orange, um, fruits that you just wash and then you can eat right away. Okay. The ones that are produced in Malaysia, for example, we have papaya, we have watermelon, all the melons lah. Okay. We have what? So all these things you have to wash, you have to potong dulu, okay, cut it up, and then only then you can consume. Okay, so it's like a bit hassle. So many people don't like to buy this kind of fruits, and sometimes it's not it cannot stay fresh longer. Like apples right now, it stays longer. You can buy 2 weeks, okay, and still can consume it. So local fruits, you have to immediately eat, or it lasts only 2 or 3 days. So even though it is a hassle or something like that, but you still need to educate consumers that they try for them to buy local and seasonal product rather than imported products. The trend right now of eating Korean food, for example, that one all imported, okay? So it has more carbon footprint, okay? And then we look at circular economy practices. Okay, so circular economy practices, we look at product life extension, recycling initiatives, repurposed byproduct. So this is where as a company, what you can do is repurpose byproducts. For example, there are things that are coming out from your factory. Okay, what else that you can do for that? If you can sell it or give to another company or people out there that can reuse it, so by all means do it. Okay, if for example you can make your product life extends more, okay, so that there's less wastage, then try to do that. Okay, for example, right now in Malaysia, chili that we buy, previously it can last, when we buy a fresh chili, it can last, even in the fridge, it can last like less than 1 week. But right now, it's sometimes 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Yeah, might be 3 weeks, because might be the post-harvest process is different. Even the genes, the seed is different. Okay, so try to make a product stay longer. Okay, and then at the end of it, if you have to use it, okay, what are the recycling initiatives that can be done? For example, even if you can take back the the packaging, you can, if the consumers is buying from you, if they have used it, you can take back the packaging and give them a new one, for example. So that is circular economy practices that you can think about too. Okay, and then you can also look at innovation for sustainability. Okay, so this is in the R&D department. You can do eco-innovation. Okay, look at sustainable technologies. What is it that you can use in your company? Materials, process that can improve environmental performance of your product. Okay, might be you can come up with crops that are drought resistant. Maybe you can come up with sustainable packaging, for example. Right now, when I use the example just now, plastic straw, kan? So now they are using paper straw. Okay, how many of you don't like using paper straw? This is especially for the ones who buy drinks at the shop, and then you cafe, you want to talk to your friends for 2 hours. Okay, after 1 hour, what happened with your straw? It will become mushy, and also you can taste the the paper. Okay, so might be if you have company in the future, what is it that you can even you don't have to use straw. Might be you have innovation for the cover of the paper cup. Okay, so these are the things that can improve us and also go towards sustainability. Okay, might be you can have energy efficient process in your factory, okay, or in your farm. So develop new products, develop business models that contribute to the environment. Okay, number 8, supply chain sustainability. So if you can, your sourcing practices, find suppliers that also have the same vision as you at conservation of the environment. Okay, so reduce supply chain impact. For example, supermarkets. When the factory manufacturer send their products to the supermarkets, for example, they take back the boxes, okay, and they reuse the boxes. Okay, for example, you can reduce the wastage by using a proper transport. Okay, you can reduce wastage by doing things correctly. For example, I've seen one company, okay, that the company is under government, all right? So when it is under government, it's not the profit or whatever is not under that employee, okay? Employee receive the same salary every month, okay? But what happens is that your employee does not give attention to whatever they are doing. So when they when they bring products from the manufacturing factory to the lorry, for example, they just dump the product. Okay, so the product in the box become dented. Okay, ada yang terbuka, it open. Okay, so all these have to be thrown away. So the percentage of wastage tu is not calculated in the salary that they receive every month. Okay, so that actually affect the profit of the company. So actually, you have to look into all this. Even in oil palm, for example, oil palm plantation, if you don't give the focus to the employee, saying that okay, you have to look at every oil palm that fall on the ground. If you don't pick it up, then we have to deduct your salary or whatever lah. You have to have some kind of procedure so that everyone takes care of whatever they have to do. Okay, and they take serious responsibility of it. Okay, and then number 9, regulatory compliance. Okay, so environmental regulations, social regulations, you have to comply. And then not only complying, if possible, you proactively show that you are doing more than the standards that is necessary. Okay, so you comply and also do proactive ways to exceed compliance regulation. And lastly, measuring and reporting. For example, like I said just now, Malaysia also have metrics that we have to show how we calculate and also measures whether we have reached the level or not. And then that is something that can go towards the continuous improvement and accountability of the company, right? So that are the 10 key elements. What are the issues and challenges? Okay, issues and challenges right now is first, consumer lack of awareness. Like I said, trending right now, we ask for consumers ask for imported products. Consumer don't like it when companies say no plastic, kan? No plastic campaign. Can you imagine you go to supermarket, you have no plastic campaign, and then you buy a whole lot of things and you cannot bring your products home. Okay, you have to bring your own bag, but you forgot to bring your bag. So the first time you buy also the bag for, in Malaysia sometimes it's RM2, RM5, you buy the bag. The next time you go shopping, you don't bring that bag, so you buy another bag. So at the end you have like 20 bags in your house. Okay, but these are, even though okay, in Malaysia for example, no plastic bag, the campaign after 1 year, still there are consumers who demand to have that plastic bag, even if the company charge 20 cents per plastic bag. Okay, so it doesn't work. So they have to come up with something else for the awareness on that. Okay, and then demand. I know it happens a lot to a lot of people.
So many shopping bag at my house.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Pastor, our time is up. I'm so sorry, but we still have a Q&A session after this.
Yeah.
Are you
So
okay with
after
that?
that is issues and challenges.
Okay,
and
sure.
Actually,
Oh, that's
done.
perfect. Okay. Okay, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. I might share the conclusion.
That's
the
okay.
important one.
All right. I bring back the bird. Okay. Okay. So these are all the issues and challenges, but if we look at the key points just now, it can we can handle the issues and challenges that we have here. Might be the important thing is also access to finance when you want to use modern technology in sustainability. Okay, so whatever it is, well, what I want to say is that you, by taking care of the environment and by being a sustainable brand, okay, you can enhance your brand reputation and you can have customer loyalty. All right, it's just that make sure that you don't over promise and you don't mislead your consumer, because the outcome of that is going to be your company will have well, not profit for a long time lah. So that is the conclusion for my presentation. Thank you very much, Miss Binti.
Well, thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause for Professor Juwaidah Sharifuddin. Yeah, you can use your the emoticon on Zoom. Thank you once again, Professor Juwaidah, such an inspiring presentation about sustainable marketing. Before we start to the next session, please allow me to highlight some important points from Professor Juwaidah's presentation. In the very beginning, she mentioned and highlights about the shift of consumer behavior, towards the greener products, the greener way to live, and it's also followed by the greener way to do the business, especially the agricultural business. We are agreed that the effort to a more sustainable marketing could be not easy, but some key elements that have been explained by Professor Juwaidah, such as environmental responsibility, where we can start to change not using plastic bag to maybe cassava bag or our shopping bag. Also, key points like transparency, that we need to aware that we should avoid the greenwashing, do not do the overclaim, maybe, and then also there are elements of circular economics, innovations for sustainability, where we can contribute in the university through research and development. And many key elements that also important and interesting. Thank you very much once again, Professor Juwaidah, for sharing how agribusiness students can contribute to sustainable way of doing their business, to agricultural business or to their farm. Thank you very much once again. And now, okay, so we right away jump into the Q&A session, or the second session of presentation. Okay.
You might have a Q&A session first, Mrs. Binti.
Oh, okay, so yeah, since so I would like to invite students or maybe lecturers from Faculty of Science and Technology who have questions, and maybe is there any questions regarding sustainable marketing that been presented by Professor Juwaidah? Please, you can drop your questions on the chat box, or just use the raise hand feature, and please open your camera, mention your name and study program, and followed by your question. Okay. Maybe. Okay. Maybe some of you just start agricultural business, or who also start to use your own tumbler and go to Starbucks or coffee shop using your own tumbler. Okay. Okay, so there are some questions. The first questions, unfortunately, we don't have the name of the students here, but the question is, what specific measures can be taken by agribusiness to integrate sustainable practices into marketing initiatives without compromising financial goals? Maybe you can directly answer the first question, Professor Juwaidah, please.
Okay, thank you for the question. That is a very good question. Like I said just now, if you want to do something that is sustainable, you have to forego a bit of your profit. So usually, because you are company, you are not NGO, you have to think about profit, because that profit you will is the income for you to feed your family. Okay, but what you can try to see is that instead of having, for example, 50% profit, why not you reduce it to 48%, just a little bit, and do more to the environment. So that can actually dia tenangkan hati, okay, tenangkan hati entrepreneur, so that they can they will not compromise financial goals. You will still have profit, but it reduced just a little bit. So that can also help your marketing initiatives. Okay, I also can answer a quick one for the second question. Kolaborasi antara industri, pemerintah, masyarakat. Okay, to make sure that everything for sustainability ni is going to be not that expensive, the cost will be not that much, is that everyone is going to the same focus. Okay, kalau ramai-ramai masyarakat, for example, minta dari industri something yang environmental friendly, nanti industri pun akan keluarkan benda-benda yang tidak merosakkan environment. Okay, sebabnya dia bukan seorang yang meminta. Industri pun sama. Kalau ramai-ramai, banyak-banyak industri yang membuat something yang sustainable, okay, jadinya dia takkan mahal untuk syarikat-syarikat yang kecil-kecil ini untuk menggunakan barang-barang yang lebih environmental friendly. Dia yang mahal apabila tak ramai yang pergi ke arah tersebut. Government like for example, what you can do towards sustainability is that you can give, for example, tax rebate ataupun tax exemption untuk companies yang pergi ke arah sustainability. Okay, sebelum ni, after COVID-19, orang tak ada kerja, okay, and then wanita, orang yang kurang upaya, susah nak dapat kerja. So government Malaysia dia ada bagi insentif di mana siapa yang ambil pekerja-pekerja yang dibuang ni, pekerja wanita, pekerja OPU, dia akan bagi sedikit bantuan kepada syarikat tersebut. Okay, masalahnya jangan jadi syarikat itu dia tipu. Dia tipu, dia kata dia ambil orang-orang ni, dia buat data sendiri and then dia claim duit tersebut. Jangan jadi begitulah. Maknanya ada benda yang company boleh buat, ada benda yang government boleh buat dan juga daripada masyarakat sendiri. So bila semua pergi ke arah sustainability development goals tu, then it will have positive impact. Okay, terima kasih.
Okay, interesting. So it's a collective effort there between industry, government, and also the consumers themselves. Okay, thank you, Professor Juwaidah. So is there any other question?
There's one more question from Abdul Rahman Zudi.
Okay.
Also
yes.
on the income, okay?
Okay.
SDC and income. So that's why I said income, okay. Di Malaysia kita ada kata syarikat yang buat yang inginkan profit sampai boleh pergi haji balik hari. Balik satu hari pergi haji boleh balik terus. Itu profit dia banyak. Okay. Memang kita nak profit, tapi profit tu if you also look at one product, you can have 20% of profit, or you can also look at you can have profit of 5% for each product, but you sell in large quantity. That one also you can have high profitability. So boleh kira begitu. Jangan hanya kira profit setiap produk kena ada profit 20% tinggi. Okay, you boleh kurangkan profit each product tapi you jual dalam kuantiti yang banyak. Itu juga akan bagi profit yang lebih kepada company. Jadi jangan terlampau fokus kepada profit setiap produk. So dia akan buatkan kita senang fikir, tenang sikit tentang sustainability. Mungkin tak nampak lagi sekarang di Indonesia, tapi trend tu akan berubah ke arah tersebut. Especially when your income is getting higher.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Juwaidah. Yeah, I think that's our first station. 3 questions have been answered, and Once again, as the committee, and Professor Juwaidah from University of Putra, Malaysia, for sharing a very inspiring session about sustainable marketing. So for that, I would give back the session to the MC, Ms. Safira. Thank you very much once again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mrs. Fenty, and also Professor Madya, Dr. Juwaidah, Binti Sharifuddin, for sharing insightful knowledge about sustainable agribusiness marketing, balancing profitability and environmental impact. Next, we will have the second session of visiting lecture with the theme of biological invention in marine environment that will be delivered by our honorable speaker, Dr. Engineer Jiri Patoka, Ph.D. DIS. He is an associate professor from Czech University of Life Sciences, Prague. Same as the previous session, I would like to remind to all the participants to obey for these following matters. Please open your camera and turn off your microphone during this presentation. And also, if you have any questions, please write it down to the Q&A section with format your name, underscore your institution or UT daerah, and then you can write down your questions. Or if you want to ask directly, you can use the raise hand feature. And another reminder that all participants wish to fill the attendance form with the link that will be shared on the chat box at the end of this event. Okay. This session will be moderated by Fauzi Rahmadian Zuhairi, SSE MSc. So now I would like to invite Mr. Fauzi and also Mr. Jiri Patoka to guide us through an insightful lecture. Mr. Fauzi, if you may guide this visiting lecture, and this session is yours now.
Thank you, Ibu Safira. Good afternoon to all, ladies and gentlemen, honorable speaker, Professor Jiri Patoka, the Associate Professor of Department of Zoology and Fisheries from Czech University of Life Science in Prague. Good morning, I suppose, for the Prague time. I think currently now it's like around 8 in the morning, maybe. How are you, Professor?
Ya, selamat pagi dari Republik Ceko.
Thank you. Yes, kita sangat senang, Prof. We are very happy and privileged to have you here. So Professor Jiri Patoka will deliver the speech about biological invasion in marine environment. But before Professor Jiri start his presentation, please allow me to read his brief CV of Professor Jiri Patoka. So, Professor Jiri Patoka, PhD, Prof. Jiri has a research field about sociobiology and ethology of freshwater crayfish. Moreover, Prof. Jiri have research interests as well in taxonomy of decapod crustaceans, in risk assessment of invasive species of crustaceans, and in monitoring of pet trade with freshwater animals. So, Prof. Jiri obtained his PhD at Czech University of Life Science in Prague in 2015. Prof. Jiri also has a total publications in Web of Science database. The number is 76, with some sums of citation is more than 1,000, and the H index for the scientific impact is the 23. And these are several publications recently by Prof. Jiri. First is about social deprivation in maternal mouth brooders, Tropheus sp. caramba. Decreases the success rate of reproduction and survival rate of fish fry, published in scientific reports. I think it's maybe in Nature publishing groups or else. And then the second paper, recent papers, is about foreign stingers, South American freshwater river stingrays, Potamotrigon, established in Indonesia, also in scientific reports. Also, the next papers is about the aquarium pet trade as a source of potentially invasive crayfish species in Serbia, in Biology journal. And then the native range of Sinophthalmus spinotheroides white, predicted by climate matching with the first record of Vietnam also in Biology journal. So I think Prof. Jiri, without further ado, you may start the presentation. So it will be 30 minutes of presentation and 15 minutes afterwards we will have a Q&A session. Prof. Jiri, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a nice introduction. Do you see the presentation?
Yes, it's very clear.
Running?
Yes.
Okay. So once again, good morning from the Czech Republic to Indonesia. I'm honored to be here as an invited speaker, and I will present a speech focused on marine bioinvasions. Here is a word cloud focused on the topic, and you can see the main terms which are the most important, like invasive species, policy, conservation, and so on. At first, we need to say, what is it, biological invasion? So, biological invasion is an impact of invasive species to native biota and the whole ecosystem. The impact is negative. The result of this impact is unbalanced ecosystem and ongoing biodiversity losses, and also some socio-economic losses for humans. Simply, it is a growing global problem highlighted by many scientists over the planet, also in Indonesia, and it is some current problematic which is highlighted by humans. The biological invasion is caused by some exotic species. So what is it, exotic species? We can say it is some non-native species or alien species or non-indigenous species or introduced species. All of these categories are the same. The meaning is the same. The exotic species is a species which is introduced to a new region beyond the range in which it evolved. So, I mean, it is beyond its native range. And what is it, invasive species? It is a non-native or exotic species which established the population outside of its native range, reproduced there, and spread in vicinity with negative consequences to the wildlife and also for humans. The invasive species is introduced beyond its native range, like rabbits in Australia, for example. And the species is harmful for native biota, like mouses or rats, which can consume eggs of birds elsewhere. And the invasive species causes changes in the ecosystems, and these changes are in many cases irreversible for future. But not each non-native species is invasive, and therefore not each non-native species is destructive to the environment. This is a very important point. The common characteristics of invasive species are following. The species is anthropotolerant. The meaning is that the species is able to survive, to reproduce, and to spread in the vicinity of human society. Another characteristic is a tolerance of a wide range of environmental conditions. The species is usually fast-growing. A short generation period and high fecundity is also typical for invasive species. Usually, it can reproduce quickly with many offspring. It is also usually aggressive and can outcompete the native species by aggressive behavior. It has a high dispersal ability. The invasive species can spread over the landscape quickly, usually. So high dispersal ability is very important aspect of invasive behavior. Also, the invasive species is usually exploited and transported by humans. The biological invasion is strongly related to humans' activities. So, the invasive species is introduced by humans, and when the species is also exploited for human consumption or for some ornamental purpose or for I don't know, some industry or so on. So it is advantage for the species because humans can intentionally release and spread the species in vicinity. And we can find more and more characteristics, but the list of these is typical for invasive species. It's common characteristics. About the principle, the establishment of species outside of its native or natural range. So there is some barrier. There is some reason why the species is in the manner of the native range only. Because there is some barrier like ocean or high mountains or desert or something like this. And with aid of humans, the species is able to cross the barrier, the geographic or also physiological barrier, to find some new place for establishment. There is also something which is called natural invasion. Natural invasion is not related with humans. It is invasion without human influence. So many authors decided this is not biological invasion. It is some natural process of spreading of species when some barriers like geographic barrier or physiological barrier are mitigated by any changes like climate change. So any physiological barrier like temperature can be not so strict for the species, and the species can spread over new land because the temperature is more suitable for the species to establish there some new population. So this is not biological invasion as a definition of a human-mediated invasion. It is natural invasion, or we can say expansion of some species. You can see that in comparison with human-mediated invasions, the natural invasions are small scale. About the barriers which are against the establishment of some population of new species, some exotic species, there are geographic barriers, physiological barriers, demographic resistance, and biotic resistance. When the species from the donor region can cross step by step all of these barriers, so finally it can invade some recipient region, the new area, new range, new locality, and try to establish there a population. 10th rule. What is it? 10th rule, the meaning is that the probability of an invasive species become established in an introduced environment, but only 10% of these species of introduced or imported species appear in the wild. Just 10%, roughly estimated, of course. From these 10%, only 10% in the wild can survive and become established. And from these, just only 10% of established species become invasive by some behavior, foraging, and so on. So you can see that just small numbers of non-native species which are introduced somewhere are invasive. But these small numbers of invasive species can cause huge environmental and socio-economic losses. So this is the principle and the most important point of biological invasions. Here is an invasion trend. You can see the line from the beginning. On the bottom there is a time scale. So you can see that the population after the introduction is increasing rapidly. There is a rapid growth of new population in a new locality. After that, there is some peak of the trend line, and after that, a short decline can be recognized, and after that, the population is bold and stable, and the line is not increasing or declining. So we can say that the new population is well established and self-sustaining, and it is surviving without any obstacles in the new locality. So keep in your mind that invasive is just a relative term. Most of introduced species are really not invasive. A species may be invasive in some regions and in some other regions not. Typically, species which is risky for tropical region is not risky for temperate zone. Species which is risky for some regions with high humidity, for example, are not risky for wetlands, for drylands, and so on. And the small numbers of invaders can cause huge losses, as I mentioned before. This is very important. Therefore, it is not some minor topic. Biological invasions and these small numbers of invaders are very important to be managed, regulated, mitigated, or eradicated by humans. Because without that, we can expect the spreading over the planet and huge losses for humans. Invasion ecology, what is it? Invasion ecology is a scientific discipline focused on biological invasions. It studies the causes and consequences of biological invasions and impacts of invasive species. This scientific discipline examines factors that influence establishment, spreading, and negative impact and losses of caused by introduced exotic species. We can say that it is a multidisciplinary science that combines elements from multiple fields of study, like community ecology, like population biology, biogeography, evolution, conservation biology, we can say ecotoxicology, aquaculture, and many other branches. And why study biological invasions? So we need to understand how a human population, human communities affect the distribution and abundance of other species, animals and plants. Invasions are altering ecosystems worldwide. Over the planet, invasive species can modify the ecosystems, which are not suitable for native species in many cases. And there are the environmental losses and also losses for human population. Invasions, I mean biological invasions, are one of the major causes of wildlife extinctions. And the biological invasions negatively impact multiple aspects of society, like natural resources, technological systems, regional economies, and also human health. It is important because some of invasive species are venomous or poisonous or can cause some allergy and so on. So also human health can be negatively affected by biological invasions. And now, when we would like to compare terrestrial and aquatic environment regarding biological invasions, so where is the main difference? the aquatic environment is usually hardly accessible for humans. So, therefore, the invasive species is usually detected too late, after the abundance of the species is very high. This is the difference to terrestrial environment. In terrestrial environment, when we are lucky, so we can detect or recognize the invasive species early, at the beginning of biological invasions. But in case of aquatic environment, we usually detect the invasive species too late. And therefore, there is a lower chance for effective eradication, regulation, or mitigation of invasive species in aquatic environment in comparison with terrestrial one. Finally, we are focused on marine environment. So, at first, about the importance of marine environment, marine systems. Marine systems are composed of many heavily invaded ecosystems. Just general note. I mean estuaries and also rocky coasts. The importance of marine environment for economics is obvious for yields of fishing, lobster capture, and also shellfishing, and many other aspects also. So it is important for human economics. And what is alarming in the current time, our knowledge about many marine ecosystems, many regions, many animal communities, and so on, is poor. We can say that the majority of marine environment is understudied. Now we can switch to the biological invasions related to aquatic environment and marine environment. Here is some note on pathways for introduction of exotic species to aquatic environment. These pictures are from Bogor, from one lake and one street market with ornamental animals, and you can see that the aquaculture is not well prepared to prevent escapes of the subjected animals from the net cages to the vicinity. This is from freshwater lake, but the principle is very similar to marine environment. So the kept animals can escape and can be transported via some water connections, waterways to the vicinity, to new locations. And therefore, some unwanted accidental escapes are a high risk for introduction of new species. So this is a pathway, not only ornamental aquaculture, but also aquaculture for human consumption. These two branches, aquacultural branches, are the main pathways in the present times for introduction of exotic species in aquatic environment. Generally, we can say that there are intentional and also unintentional pathways. Among intentional, we can add releasing of the animals for future harvesting, releasing of some unwanted animal. If some fish keepers decided not to continue with ornamental fish keeping or to move to another place, and some other cases, and the animal is unwanted, so many owners decided to release the animal in the wild. So bad solution, bad decision, but it exists. Also, religion can be mentioned because there are some celebrations which, especially in Buddhists, who improve their karma by releasing of animals from the captivity. And in case of non-native species, of exotic species, which are released in during one event on the same place, so this is a high chance for establishment of new population of exotic species. So this is unwanted activity, for sure. Also, pest control some decision makers or conservationists may decide to release some exotic species to locality with another established invasive species to control the first one by predator behavior or something like this. And it is worth mentioning that in many cases this is a bad decision because the new incomer, the predator, can switch the attention from the invasive species to another one, to some native species, which can be dramatically negatively affected by the new predator. And moreover, for example, in Lombok Island, there is an invasive freshwater armored catfish, Pterygoplephtis disjunctivus and Pterygoplephtis pardalis, which were introduced there intentionally by wildlife managers to graze on invasive water hyacinth. But water hyacinth is flowing on the water level, and the catfish is on the bottom. So the grazing was impossible, and the new species was introduced and spread over the island. And okay, so it is an intentional introduction of new invader. So pest control is at least disputable or controversial decision how to manage some biological invasions, and cannot be recommended in general. And there are also some other intentional pathways how to introduce the new species. On the other hand, there are also unintentional pathways, like escape from the culture, or releasing together with another commodity. I mean, some wastewater from aquarium or some tank, and the species can be released together with the wastewater. And what are the risks or threats of biological invasions? Direct threats like competition for resources, I mean for food, for place, for shelter. The native species can be outcompeted by invasive one, and the population of native species can decline dramatically as direct consequences of invasion. Also, predation is a risk when some new predator is introduced to the locality, so the native species can be under intensive pressure from the predator and can be preyed by the new animal easily, and the population can also decline rapidly. Disease and pathogen transmission, very important topic, which is unfortunately poorly studied in case of marine environment. In case of freshwater environment, for example, we have an example of new pathogen in Indonesia. In 2017, we found for a very first time in tropics in Indonesia pathogen of crayfish plague. It is pathogen of decapod crustaceans, especially of crayfish, which is of North American origin, and it is transmitted by North American crayfishes. And in Indonesia, we found one North American crayfish, Precambarus clarki, which is cultured close to the Bogor city in Java. And the disease is here in Indonesia. And the Indonesian native crayfish and other decapod crustaceans can be under threat of this pathogen, and no one knows the consequences, because this is the first time when the pathogen was introduced to the tropics. So disease transmission is very important point, very important threat, which can have huge negative consequences, which are commonly overlooked by decision makers, by wildlife managers, and so on. So keep in your mind that invasive species or non-native species has not to survive in the new locality, but can transport the pathogen, and the pathogen can survive. So this is a high risk. And also hybridization can be mentioned because some species are able to reproduce with the native species, and the specific genetic information of the native population will be lost by hybridization. And among indirect threats, we can sort habitat alteration by behavior of invasive species, by burrowing activity, or some grazing on vegetation, and so on. So the habitat can be modified, and also change of food webs, because the new species can focus on some new type of prey or graze on some vegetation which previously have not been under pressure from predators. So the change of food webs can cause some unbalanced ecosystem in general, the whole ecosystem. And here are the negative impacts. Decline of native species abundance. It is the main point of biological invasions. So the decline can be on some specific population, or as the most pessimistic scenario, the decline of the whole species, and the extinction can come. So extinction of native species in the wild. So biodiversity can be lost, and also we can say that the nature is in progress of homogenization. So I mean that many of endemic species can be lost, and some few numbers of successful invaders can spread over the planet, with the consequence of unbalanced ecosystem functions. And also unbalanced ecosystem and biodiversity losses can cause socio-economic losses for humans. Impact on human health, as I mentioned before, some, for example, venomous animals or plants can be risky for human health. About the invasion potential, which is not the same as impacts. So there are many factors which have to be included in the analysis and the evaluation, like environmental conditions. These are very important for survival of at least invertebrate species, but also for some vertebrates and for plants as well. Specific skills and abilities of exotic species are very important. I mean, abilities how to cross the barriers, how to go over the obstacles, how to adapt to some specific conditions. Human motivation, because humans are the main source, main cause of biological invasions. So human motivation, why to transport the species, is very important. Pathogens and parasites are in many cases overlooked, and we have no knowledge about the presence of pathogens and parasites on the new species, and these can be introduced as invisible organisms with possible huge negative consequences. And many other factors can be included as well.
Excuse me, Prof. Jiri.
Yes.
We have a little bit of time constraint, but yeah, we have like around 5 minutes. 5
minutes only. Okay, so
yeah.
Okay. So quickly, how to fight against biological invasions? Two ways how to do it: mitigation or eradication. It is not easy, especially in marine environment. Therefore, the prevention of new introductions is very important. Here are some examples of direct eradication by capture of animals or spraying the plants. Prevention, how to stop the spreading of non-native species, here for rats, to vessels. And mitigation or eradication is impossible in many cases. Therefore, the prevention is of a high importance. We need to identify the high-risk species and educate the general public about the consequences, about the risks, and finally improve the current legislation. So high-risk species, when are identified, so should be replaced by low-risk species in a culture. It is very important, smart solution, and can be considered by decision makers. How to identify the high-risk species? The species determination, its native range, and together with climate conditions in the native range, we can produce the climate matching analysis. And together with biology and ecology and climate matching outputs, we can prepare the risk assessment of the species with possible ban of high-risk species. So I will skip these slides because we are under the time pressure. And these three categories are outputs of the risk assessment. Low-risk species are okay for exploitation, and there are no environmental negative impacts of these species. Contrary, high-risk species are very risky for some evaluated region and have to be banned. Pardon. Here are two ways how to ban the species, how to prepare the blacklist of unwanted species in some specific country or specific region. It is very important to discuss all these things with any all stakeholders like policymakers, traders, local producers, and hobby keepers, and so on. And here are the examples of marine biota which is invasive. You can see on this map some transportation routes of marine vessels, and there are many vessels which are transported or going through the seas or over the planet day by day, and can transport a huge amount of animals and some microorganisms and so on. And some of them can be invasive. Here is the first example, red king crab. It is crustacean from infraorder Anomura, native to North Pacific Ocean and currently introduced intentionally for human consumption and future harvest to other localities. This is the native range in Barents Sea, but subsequently it was introduced also to North Sea and to Norway. Here is a video, but we have no time to focus on the video. So I will share the presentation, and you can open the video later by yourself. Another example is Pteris volitans, the red lionfish, which is native to Indo-Pacific region, and it was introduced to Atlantic Ocean and also to Mediterranean Sea. It is venomous and predatory fish, which cause the worst biological invasions at all on the planet. So very, very risky animal. Green crab invasion, another example of marine invader, which is native to Europe and North Africa, but invasive in both Americas, also in South Africa and in Australia. Here you can see the map of an introduced region. Not only animals. This is algae, Caulerpa taxifolia, a killer algae which is spreading in Mediterranean, released by aquarium keepers, aquarium owners, and growing quickly in non-native region, the indicated by red color here on this map. And sea walnut, and it is invertebrate, a comb jelly, which is native to both Americas, but invasive in Black Caspian and Mediterranean Sea, and also in Baltic Sea and North Sea. So it was introduced via vessel transportation and with ballast water. Ballast water is also a very important source of non-native marine animals in general. So this one was introduced via ballast water. Here is a map. Sixth example, a snail, vein trappa whelk, which is a mollusk gastropod native to Northwest Pacific and invasive in European seas. Also introduced via ballast water. It is a predatory snail, which is risky for native mollusks and can cause huge losses in native mollusks. And the red coloration is the invasive range in Europe. Stony sponge. It was introduced to Indonesia in Banda Sea. The pathway is unknown, and the negative impact is currently also unknown. It is a challenge for future research. I guess that some Indonesian colleagues can focus on this invertebrate taxon to evaluate the negative impact. And Banggai cardinal fish. Banggai cardinal fish is a bony fish which is native to Sulawesi, but currently introduced also to other seas in Indonesia for the ornamental trade, ornamental aquaculture. Even if it is endemic to Sulawesi, it can be evaluated as non-native species in other parts of Indonesia. The negative consequences are unknown, but it is under evaluation currently. Here is a map. And finally, conclusion. So we can say that there are many examples of human-mediated biological invasions in marine environment. Here were some examples of, I guess, 8 species, but there are more than 8 species, of course. Related losses are huge. Environmental and also socio-economic losses are huge. High-risk species have to be regulated significantly, even if it is not easy, so we have to try to do it. And prevention of new introductions is crucial because the eradication after the establishment of new population is not easy. So the prevention is the best way how to mitigate the risks, how to stop the possible invasions, and how to save our time, energy, and money. If you would like to focus on the topic, there are many publications, papers, books, and so on available online, and just not only in English but also in other languages. So that's all from my side. Terima kasih banyak. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Terima kasih banyak, Bapak Prof Jiri, Patoka, for the very excellent presentation that you've given. We can give a round of applause virtually in the Zoom. And then, yeah, I think now we can move on to the Q&A session. There are some questions that we have gathered for Prof Jiri. Now I will share to the screen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, I can read it for you, Prof Jiri. Question number 1, is there any possibility or example for some invasive species that in certain geographical area competes with natural species for resources, but in other areas, except in their native areas, complement or supporting each other with natural species? Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So. Some invasive species can have also some positive impacts. This is a very good question because For example, in case of some plants, some marine birds, for example, can use these plants for nesting behavior, and also some predators can be used for mitigation of some other unwanted animals, even if the pest control is not easy. But we have to focus on the species from the comprehensive perspective. There are both sides, positive and negative impacts. So at first we have to evaluate the species if the negative consequences are huge and it has to be regulated, or if not, and it can be used by humans for some purposes, for some exploitation. So for sure, there are animals or plants which are high risk in some specific regions, but not so high risk in some other regions. So it is hard to say some general decision, general answer. It has to be evaluated species by species and region by region. But yes, that's true.
Yes, thank you, Prof. And then the second question, if you have any information about to what extent the spread of tilapia, the example of this mujair or nila fish in Indonesia, into wild area can affect native species.
Yeah. Thanks for this question, even if it is not related to marine environment, but nila is one of the most successful invaders at all. So the pressure to native biota is huge, and also not only in nila but also in other cichlids. For example, in Sulawesi Island, in freshwater lakes, there the invasive fishes have so negative consequences and impacts to native biota, native species of fish, shrimps, crabs, and also snails. So there are many negative consequences related to aquaculture of nila, common carp, some catfish, and so on. So this species has to be regulated or exploited with attention of the stakeholders, but it is hard to do it because in case of Indonesia, so tilapia can be found in many localities, and it is not easy to stop the invasion. It is spreading over not only nila but also other freshwater animals as well. So bad news for Indonesian biota.
Okay, and then I think we arrived to the last question in this PowerPoint that we have gathered. So, Prof, maybe you already mentioned some example of using or ways of using enemies or natural enemies for invasive species, but can you extend or explain more on that?
Yeah. So there are some cases of predators which should be used for eradication of some invasive species, but these usually fail. So why? For example, in case of lionfish in Atlantic Ocean, there are some predatory fish which are not focused on lionfish because these are venomous. So the predators are not motivated to prey on lionfish, and their preference are non-venomous species. So in case of Indonesian waters, I have no information about the use of some natural enemies of invasive fish, and I guess that it is at least disputable if it is a good idea, because in many cases the predator will focus also on other fishes, not only on invasive species.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Prof. Jiri. And we would also like to invite if there is other participants want to ask question directly to Prof. Jiri. You can unmute the microphone or raising hands.
We have one question in chat room.
Sure. Yeah, I should have let us check that as well. Okay, yeah, I will read the question from Abdurrahman Zudi. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think Jack. I think Abdurrahman Zudi. Yeah, he explained first is he's already seen several documentaries about the invasive species of gurami fish, which attacks several freshwater ecosystems in Western countries, and they started to. Okay, maybe I can first. This is the IT team who published this, right? Okay, because the IT team published this question first, and I will read it in this PPT that they're published. Okay, Isna from Universitas Terbuka Serang asked about the farm species. So, as we know in Indonesia, chicken is the most important food and the main protein for us. But there are so many chickens farmed both in small or massive scales. But I saw that raising farm species chicken is more tricky than raising other species. Especially for broiler species, we should be careful about their food, temperature, and other stuff because they are sensitive species. So the question is why the farm species not as survive enough as another species which grow in wild nature. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for this question, even if it is also not related to marine environment. But we can say that the species, the animals which are used for the culture and for human consumption are usually breed for some specific characteristics, and the chicken are with how to say bigger muscles in comparison with wild birds, and also the development is more rapid than in the natural development of the young chicken. So these parameters usually cause the higher sensitivity to some diseases or lower tolerance to environmental conditions and so on. And moreover, these animals are not able to survive in the wildlife, usually due to low ability how to defend to predators and so on. So this domesticated animal is not the invader in general. But on the other hand, for example, domestic cats are not sensitive and they can survive in the wild. So domestic cats are successful invaders, but chicken not so much. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Isna from UT Serang and Prof. Jiri. So the next question, I'll read it from the chat in the Zoom. So Abdurrahman Zuhdi from IPB University already mentioned that this gurami fish attacks several freshwater ecosystems in Western countries, and they started to eradicate it by catching it and turning it into alternative food such as nuggets. But this invasion still gave a negative perception, especially perhaps for the biologists there. But in contrast, in Asia, gurami is a luxury food for several restaurants, and he doesn't understand why this invasion is so dangerous, and he assume or suspect that couldn't this once again be used as a new source of income, and the profit from using the gurami could be created to a type of breeding aquarium for local fish species, so that local species will still exist, but a new economic cycle can occur and improve the welfare of local residents. Maybe there's some perspective there.
Yeah. So guramis and some other animals which are valuable for locals and for the traders and so on can be the culture of them can be very profitable for the owners, of course, but it is hard to say and hard to evaluate correctly all the negative consequences, possible negative consequences, before the introduction of new species on new localities. So, especially in case of parasites and pathogens, it is mostly impossible to evaluate all possible negative consequences before the introduction of the species. And especially in Indonesia, where many endemic fish species and invertebrate species exist, so it is possible that some new incomer, like gurame or like other animals, like, for example, red claw crayfish, can have negative consequences, negative impacts on native biota or not, because the situation is not the same over the Indonesia. The situation will be different in Lombok, will be different in West Sumatra, will be different in Kalimantan, and it is hard to say if the species will be negative or not. And what is important, gurame is native species for Indonesia, but there are many species which are endemics of very restricted areas in specific islands. And because in Indonesia there are more than 17,000 islands, so the species have to be sorted as native to specific islands, not to the country, because there are endemics which can be, for example, native, like red claw crayfish. Red claw crayfish is native to South Papua, but non-native to the rest of Indonesia, and it can be evaluated as invader there. So in gurame, the situation can be similar. But I understand the motivation of farmers to produce the fish for profit. So it is okay. But there is a difference when the fish will be produced in some captivity or in some outdoor area. So outdoor area is the outdoor aquaculture is significantly more risky in comparison with indoor aquaculture. Is it okay?
Yes. Thank you very much, Prof. Jiri. And I think because of the time constraint, it's almost like 4 p.m. in Indonesia right now. So I think that question concludes our session. Once again, thank you very much, Prof. Jiri, for the excellent presentation and excellent discussion that we have. We can give a round of applause again virtually from the Zoom. And then, yeah, maybe to sum it up a bit, I just want to emphasize the conclusion that Prof. Jiri has given, is that there are many examples of human-mediated bioinvasions in marine environment that is related to losses that is can be big, and the high-risk species have to be regulated significantly, and that provide that it might be difficult to handle that. And yeah, of course, the many prevention of this new introduction is very important to prevent this. So that is all for me as a moderator. Thank you very much once again, Jiri, for the excellent session. And then I will give back this session to the MC, Bu Safira, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fauzi, and also Mr. Jiri Patoka for sharing another insightful knowledge about biological invasion in marine environment. So, well, what an enlightening information that we have here by joining this visiting lecture at the end of 2023. And also, I would like to say once again, thank you, Mr. Fauzi, and also Mrs. Binti for guiding us through the visiting lecture sessions. And also, I would like to thank our wonderful speakers, Professor Madya, Dr. Juwaidah, Binti Sharifuddin, and also Dosh Engineer Jiri Patoka, Ph.D. DIS. And as a token of appreciation to both our speakers for taking their time here and share precious knowledges about sustainable agribusiness marketing, balancing profitability and environmental impact, and also about biological invention in marine environment. So we will give certificates, and these certificates will be delivered by Dean of Faculty of Science and Technology of Universitas Terbuka. It is an honor for us to invite Dr. Nurma to give certificate for our first speaker, Professor Madya Dr. Juwaidah Binti Sharifuddin. Dr. Nurma, if you may.
Yes, I'm here. Okay, thank you, Mbak Safira. Mrs. Juwaidah, thank you very much for your time and your sharing. We hope that your material that very interesting for us, and hopefully we can create for further cooperation and collaboration with you and with your university.
Very much.
Okay, and if you may, Dr. Nurma, you have to give the second certificate for our second speaker, Dosh Engineer Jiri Patoka, Ph.D. DIS. If you may, Dr. Nurma.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jiri Patoka, hello. See you
Hello.
again. Yeah. It's nice to meet you. Mr. Jiri Patoka, it's my pleasure that we can invite you again in here by virtually. Thank you very much for your time and your sharing. Hopefully it can be useful for all of us.
Terima kasih banyak Bu Nurma.
Sama-sama. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nurma. And I would like to invite to all participants to have a photo session with us, which has joining us using Zoom. Please open your camera. Okay. Seems most of us is already prepared for having a photo session, so I will lead the photo session by counting down, like the formal session first. 3, 2, 1. Another smile. 3, 2, 1. You can have your freestyle, maybe, if you may. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Last but not least, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of today's event. On behalf of the committee and the whole faculty, we would like to extend our gratitude for the speaker and all participants for your contributions on this event. And also, I would like to remind all of the participants of today's event to fill the attendance form by clicking the link that already shared by the committee. We hope today's event become a great experience for you to share knowledges, experiences, and inspirations. Hope to see you again on the next visiting lecture. My name is Fira. Thank you and have a good day. See you on the next visiting lecture session. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.